Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has said that Narendra Modi has committed a strategic blunder and will have to pay a heavy price for his actions in Indian-administered Kashmir. Speaking on Pakistan's Independence Day, the Premier was referring to New Delhi's move to scrap Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, which gave partial autonomy to the Indian-administered state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Mr. Khan's comments have come as India says that security has been eased in Hindu-majority Jammu, but will continue in the mainly Muslim Kashmir Valley for an unspecified time. To remind you, for the past 10 days, we've seen this part of Kashmir in lockdown. Thousands of extra security forces have been patrolling the streets, telephone and internet services have been suspended, protests banned, and leaders locked up. Well, let's take you straight to Secunda Kamani, who is in Muzaffarabad for us. That is the capital of Pakistani-administered Kashmir, where everyone has been listening, I imagine, to Imran Khan speak today. Secunda, tell us what he said.
Yes, that's right. Imran Khan was just speaking in this building behind me, the local parliament in Pakistani-administered Kashmir. And really, coming here today, he had at least two audiences in mind, a domestic one and an international one. When it comes to Pakistanis and those living here in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, he promised them that he would be the voice for the Kashmiri cause, taking it up on every available forum. When it came to the international community, he had a warning. He said that the United Nations needed to intervene in this growing crisis in Kashmir. The Kashmir region is, of course, disputed between both Pakistan and India. And Imran Khan had a message as well for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said that his actions in Indian-administered Kashmir would prove to be a crucial blunder, that once this de facto curfew that's in place was lifted, then all kinds of activities would start again. We would learn about some alleged atrocities potentially by the Indian armed forces, and there would be an uprising, really, of some sort in Indian-administered Kashmir.
I mean, we can read so much into his words, Secunda, and he's only just spoken. But he also said to India, we will respond to whatever you do. We will go until the end. What does he mean by that?
Well, look, at the moment, it's very clear Pakistani officials want to appear the reasonable ones in this dispute. They are not talking about taking military action. They're talking about a diplomatic offensive. They have said, and Imran Khan, as you say, did say here just a few moments ago, that were India to take any action, military action against Pakistan or against Pakistani-administered Kashmir, that he would respond with military force to any Indian attack. But certainly at the moment, the Pakistani authorities are being very careful to emphasize that they're trying to take the diplomatic route at the moment.
And Secunda, how are people in Muzaffarabad feeling about what is happening with their Kashmiri brothers?
Well, certainly for people in Pakistan and in particular in Pakistani-administered Kashmir, the Kashmiri cause is a deeply emotive one. Generations of Pakistanis have grown up believing that Kashmir should be part of Pakistan, or at least be independent, and certainly shouldn't be part of. I was here in for about just a few days ago, speaking to local people, speaking to people at protests, family.
We seem to be having a few problems with our line there to Secunda in Muzaffarabad. As you can imagine, difficulties with communications at times like this. But we can take you to Rahul Tandon, monitoring events for us from Delhi. And I'm just wondering, Rahul, there was some fiery language from Imran Khan. Has there been any reaction in India?
Not yet, and I don't think that the authorities in Delhi will be surprised about what the Prime Minister of Pakistan has said. We may get a response from the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he addresses his nation tomorrow on Indian Independence Day. But during the course of this week, Lucy, we've had briefings from senior Indian government officials who've made it categorically clear that this is an internal matter for the Indian government. It is none of the business of Pakistan, is the language that they use. And also they've been keen to point out that, look, when it comes to relations between the two countries at the moment, they say it's Pakistan who has decided to cut off train links. It's Pakistan who's tried to cut off the bus links as well. India at the moment says we have no problems with those. So I think they're trying to put the blame for any increase in tensions across the border. But there'll be no surprise with Imran Khan's comments at all today, and I'm sure Mr. Modi will make his response tomorrow.
Rahul, we're seeing pictures of empty streets, soldiers on those streets as well in Kashmir. What do we know about the lifting of some of those security restrictions that were announced today?
We know that in the Hindu area of Jammu that the restrictions on movement have been lifted, but in the valley, which is where the predominantly Muslim population of that area lives, the restrictions are as severe, if not more severe than ever before at the moment as India moves towards Indian Independence Day. So once again, as we've been saying throughout the last 10 days, there's two very differing narratives here. The Indians say it's peaceful, not too many problems, but what we hear from the ground is seething anger. And in the last hour, we're getting reports that Shah Faisal, who's a Kashmiri politician who was on Hard Talk on the BBC World yesterday evening, has been picked up and detained as he tried to leave the country. In an emotional interview with Stephen Sackur yesterday, he said the people of Kashmir had been betrayed and also that the removal of autonomy was an insult. So still many people in detention, and still we wait to really hear the voice of the people of Indian-administered Kashmir, whilst the Indians say the vast majority there are supporting their actions.
Rahul, it was very good to see you, and thank you for teeing up our very next piece of interview. Rahul, they're talking about that Kashmiri politician who gave an interview to the BBC's Stephen Sackur and that Hard Talk programme. In the interview, as Rahul was saying, Faisal Shah of Jammu Kashmir's People Movement told Stephen Sackur that he was apprehensive of his arrest, and as Rahul was just saying, he has now been arrested. Have a listen.
Most of the political leaders who belong to my political party and all other political parties have been detained. I am the only person from the all-party meeting which met there in Srinagar on 4th who is free, and honestly speaking, I'm ashamed of myself that I'm free at a time when the entire leadership of Kashmir is under, in jail, and all the 8 million people have been imprisoned.
Do you think, in all honesty, when this interview is done and perhaps over the next few days you'll try to go back to Kashmir, do you think you will be free for long?
Police has come to my home a couple of times after I left, and it's also a story in itself the way I reached airport and came to Delhi. Because of communication breakdown, maybe people could not communicate to their higher-ups about my escape from the airport, but I'm very much apprehensive that soon after I leave from here, I may be detained, like anybody else.
So prophetic words there. Faisal Shah has now been arrested.